talk about your origin story. And no, I don't mean where your grandparents came from. I mean your real origin story. Where do the atoms that literally make you you come from? Well, today we're going to trace it all the way back. Think of it like a cosmic relay race, one that's been run across billions of years. The baton was passed from stars to ancient microbes, and then through an unbroken chain of ancestors. And it all ends with you. So, yeah, let's just let that sink in for a second. This isn't some feel-good, poetic phrase. It is a straight-up scientific fact. Every single part of you is the result of this incredible, unbroken chain of events that kicked off at the very beginning of the universe. So come on, let's follow that chain, leg by leg, and see exactly how you got here. All right, the first leg of our relay race starts in one of the most extreme places you can possibly imagine, the super hot, high-pressure cores of stars. See, before we can even begin to talk about life, we need the right ingredients. And those ingredients, they had to be made from scratch. Okay, big science term here, stellar nucleosynthesis. It's a fancy way of saying stars making stuff. For a while, a lot of folks thought most of the elements were cooked up in the Big Bang, but it was brilliant minds like Fred Hoyle who figured out that, no, stars are the real cosmic forges. They're the factories that take the simplest atoms and smash them together to build heavier ones. And this really shows you what a game changer that was. The early universe was, well, it was kind of boring, almost nothing but hydrogen and helium. It's the life and, just as importantly, the death of generations and generations of stars that filled the cosmos with everything else. The carbon in your DNA, the oxygen you're breathing this very second, the iron in your blood, all of it was forged inside a star that exploded long before our own sun was even a flicker. And this is how it works. A massive star isn't just a big ball of hot gas, it's a layered factory, kind of like a cosmic onion. As it gets older, it fuses lighter elements into heavier ones. It burns through its hydrogen, then starts on helium, then carbon, and so on. Each new stage happens in a new, deeper, hotter layer, forging all the raw materials needed for planets and, you guessed it, for life. So the first baton is passed. The universe now has the right stuff for life. But a pile of atoms is one thing. Organized, energy-burning life is a whole other story. For that, we have to zoom way, way in, from the scale of stars to the microscopic world for the next huge handoff. This quote right here gets to the absolute heart of it. Tucked inside almost every single one of your cells are these tiny little power plants called mitochondria. But here's the kicker. They weren't always part of us. They are the descendants of ancient, free-living bacteria that, billions of years ago, made a deal that completely changed the future of life on Earth. So how did this happen? Well, the leading theory is called the hydrogen hypothesis, and it's actually a pretty simple story. You've got one simple organism, an archaeon, that needed hydrogen to survive, and you have another organism, a bacterium, that was just pumping out hydrogen as waste. So the archaeon basically swallowed the bacterium, but instead of eating it, it put it to work. The host cell gave it a safe place to live, and the little bacterium paid rent by providing a steady, reliable stream of energy. And we cannot overstate how important this was. This wasn't just some small improvement. This single event was the birth of complexity. This new supercell, the first eukaryote, had a ridiculous energy advantage. It could grow bigger, build new things, and eventually, it evolved into every animal, plant, and fungus on the planet. The second baton, the baton of energy, had been passed. Okay, so we've got our Stardust, we've got our cellular power plants, but how is that incredible legacy that ancient pact carried forward through generations? This brings us to the anchor leg of our relay, a journey that happens inside the female body, all centered on one amazing cell, the oocyte, or what we call the egg cell. Now, this might look a little complicated, but the story here is all about protection. You have this one precious cell, our direct link to the past, and it gets carefully developed and then wrapped up in layers of other cells. This whole package, called the follicle, is like a biological vault, protecting not just half of the DNA for a new person, but that whole army of mitochondrial power plants we just talked about. The baton is being carefully prepped for the next runner. Now get ready for this number, because it's a big one. By the time a female fetus is just 5 months old, her body has already made its lifetime peak supply of these potential egg cells, about 7 million of them. It's this incredible investment in the future, all made before she's even born. But here is the mind-blowing twist. Out of those 7 million, only about 400 will ever actually get the call up for ovulation during her entire reproductive life. All the rest just fade away. It makes every single one of those 400 cells an unbelievably precious vessel, carrying a legacy that stretches back billions of years. And the story gets even weirder. You see, unlike most cells in your body, the oocyte's journey isn't a continuous sprint. It's more like a marathon with an incredibly long nap in the middle. I mean, this timeline is just wild. The process of cell division, meiosis, it starts before birth. But then it just stops. It hits pause, frozen in a stage called prophase 1, and it can wait like that for years, even decades. It only wakes up and finishes that first division right before it's ovulated. And the very final step, it only completes its job after it's been fertilized. It's a life story that literally spans decades. And this comparison just makes it crystal clear. For males, making sperm is like a continuous production line that kicks on at puberty. But for females, it's a completely different strategy. The entire finite supply is made up front and then stored. This makes each egg cell a direct time capsule from the mother's own fetal development, carrying that unbroken chain of mitochondria forward. So, we've followed the baton from the fiery heart of a star through a 2-billion-year-old microbial merger and down an unbroken maternal line, held in suspended animation for decades. We are now at the finish line of this cosmic relay, which is, of course, the starting line for a brand new one. So let's just recap this incredible journey. The raw materials, forged in stars. The biological engine that powers us, a gift from an ancient bacterium. And that entire inheritance, both the atoms and the energy, is passed down generation to generation, protected inside that one special cell, the oocyte. Just think about that for a minute. Stardust, ancient bacteria, an unbroken chain of life stretching back eons. It is all concentrated, all of it, into one single microscopic cell. It's the culmination of a 13.8 billion-year relay race. It's a time capsule of cosmic and biological history, waiting for that one final spark to kick off the next chapter. So when you think about where you came from, remember, it didn't just start with your parents. It started with the very stars in the sky. That entire, unbroken legacy has now been handed to you. The only question is, what story are you going to write in the next chapter of this cosmic relay?